Today's November 10th, so I think has it been 2 months? 2 months since Charlie Kirk's assassination. And in this video, I wanted to talk about my thoughts after 2 months of sculpting this monument bust, larger-than-life bust, sculpture of Charlie Kirk. So this sculpture, I started it the day of the assassination. My life's changed quite a bit since then. I've had the privilege of being canceled from the platform where I made the majority of my income selling online sculpting courses. They were obliged to remove me for offending the leftist students on their platform. And, I've listened to more of Charlie Kirk. He was somebody that I respected in the space, a fighter for God, family, country, in that order. So the day of the assassination, I started to build the armature. I used wood from this barn, scrap wood that I took down and replaced some of the beams up top. And I used that wood for the armature or the foundation. Originally I was thinking life size, but then I decided to go a little bit larger than life. This is probably, if the full figure was this size, it'd be like a 10-foot monument, which is kind of common. It's like a 1 1/3 scale. And it was warm in the barn when I started. It's cooled down. So Charlie Kirk and I were the same age. I was born in January of 93, January 14th. And he was born, if I remember correctly, in October 14th of the same year. So he was my age. I was a little bit ahead of him with family formation. We're expecting our fifth child in the coming months. Girl, boy, girl has been our pattern. And the shooter, the alleged shooter, if the information that's come out so far is correct, was raised by a conservative family of my own faith, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Though if my information is correct, he identified more as an ex-Mormon than as a member of the church, with groups like the ex-Mormon furries, things like that. Had embraced a lifestyle that was contrary to God's teachings with regard to chastity, that sexuality should be within a marriage between a man and a woman. It seems that the shooter had kind of rejected that completely and become, a militant member of the LGBT community to the point where he saw somebody that was just maybe a representative of that tradition, that family tradition. He saw that as hateful in and of itself, that if you're for family and you think that those powerful emotions and urges should be exercised just within the bounds that God has set for us, that we might have diverse temptations and desires, but that those desires should be harnessed towards the purpose of sexuality, which is family formation, which is having children, and that creation of life should be done within the bounds of marriage, because that's the most stable and secure foundation for children, and that marriage is not simply about making husbands and wives happy, but it's about providing a stable environment for children, and an intact marriage with the husband and father that love each other. That's the most privileged environment that a child can be raised in. So if you give your child that, you're giving them something that is more valuable than money or material goods. And really what you're doing when you assassinate a father is you're robbing the world, you're robbing the man of the time he has in this world, the time that he has to accomplish what he'll accomplish, to spend with his family, to spend with his wife and children. You're taking that. But then also you're robbing the world of the man. You're robbing the wife of her husband, and you're robbing the children of their father. You're stealing that from them, the time that they would have to grow and love and experience life. I lost my father when I was 13 from stomach cancer. He died of cancer. And so he wasn't taken from me in a sense that there was anybody that I could blame. So I can't even imagine the situation where there is somebody that made a choice, such an evil choice, to take that from me. I can't imagine the hatred that I would feel. And, we're asked to forgive as Christians. And I think that would prove very difficult. I had a really strong relationship with my dad. was kind of daddy's boy. And I saw when our dad passed, he had 7 boys, all boys, and the youngest was three at the time, or 4. But I saw in my youngest brother, that he was robbed of something, that he missed out on that time with his dad. So I think of those children left fatherless. It calls out to God for justice, for that this wasn't right, that this was such an evil thing. And then as I'm doing this, I see the people in my comments, the leftists in my comments that celebrate the execution of a man that's never been tried or convicted of anything. The type of people that when they see a monument to Charlie Kirk, they can't help but opine on what an evil, bigoted, racist, whatever, Nazi they think he was. Most of these people never even listen to anything other than out of context sound bites or quotes that they see, and they think that represents his entire position. And they don't even think to question whether that was his position, because they just want to believe that anybody on the right claims to be a Christian, conservative, fighting for God, family, country, must be bigoted in some way. Not that they think that maybe there's just a better way to go about things to lead to a flourishing society where there's more good and less bad. So that's one of the differences between those on the left and those on the right. Those on the right tend to think that the people on the left are misguided, that they've just been kind of fooled and fallen for arguments that when lived out in reality don't do the good things that they claim to be able to do. So we see them as kind of deceived. But those on the left, they don't see the right as deceived. They see them as evil. They see them as an embodiment of badness, bigotry, hatred. And so seeing these comments, this hatred, the same type of people that led to my cancellation, that they were persistent, complaining to the company that why is there a right-winger, an openly right-wing, somebody that might offend the sensibilities of leftist students. My position has always been, I'm going to say what I think is true and create artworks that I think are worth creating. And I enjoy teaching, so I'll teach anybody that wants to listen. I put most of my stuff for free, or a lot of my stuff for free. And I do have, the courses that people pay for, but honestly, a lot of the free stuff could be like a course in and of itself. And so I don't do anything to prevent leftists from learning from my instruction and using their abilities to sculpt as a way to promote their views. But there are many leftists that believe that if there's a conservative, they should be limited in their ability to be an artist, to provide for their family, if they're openly conservative. I feel like it's like you could be a conservative, you can be a Christian, just as long as we can't tell. That's kind of the attitude. Just as long as you shut up about it and never mention it. And that was something that I respected a great deal in Charlie Kirk, is that he was not afraid to speak up for how his views on Christianity and on what he believed, how that informed his worldview. And he was not afraid to share his testimony of Jesus Christ, which is why I think that it is accurate to categorize his assassination as a political and religious martyrdom. That he was a martyr for his beliefs, killed while trying to have an open dialogue with those that disagreed with him by somebody that was overcome with evil ideas and sinful behavior. So sin and lies, evil ideas, they lead to bad places. When you try to live out lies, it just makes the world worse. I was having a conversation with my brother recently, and he works in law enforcement, but he told me about a story of somebody in law enforcement. He was teaching, so he also teaches some of these new recruits, but he was trying to get across the lesson that you don't want to ever do anything that you would want to lie about, that you would be motivated to lie about, something that you're so ashamed of that you want to hide it. The example he gave was of an agent, an officer, who had an affair. He had a family, but he had an affair with somebody, and then through that affair, a child was conceived. And he pressured the mother of his child to kill that son or daughter. I don't remember if it was a son or daughter. And the mother refused. She did not want to end the life of her son or daughter. And so then, time goes by, and then he's served with papers for child support that he needs to provide for this child that he created through this extramarital affair. And so then, he's in a position where people are going to find out. His wife's going to find out. Where's this money going every month? What's happening with this? So he's in a position where he wants to make the problem go away. He wants to hide this shameful thing that he's done. And so what does he do? Well, he lures the woman to a place and kills this woman and her child, his child, in cold blood, ends their life. But it all started with a lack of chastity, a lack of maintaining that relationship within the bounds of marriage, and then the shame that comes from that and trying to cover it up led to worse and worse sins till it led to, one of the worst things you can do in this world, which is end the life of your own child. So lies have a way of doing that. They have a way of pulling us to an evil place where we can't see reason and morality. Nobody's reached out to make this sculpture, and I don't have a buyer to bronze it or anything. This was just a personal project that I thought was worth making. So we'll see if anything more ever comes of it. But regardless of what happens, I think it was worth making, even though it came at a cost, a deep personal cost of the majority of my income I'm now trying to replace. But some things are worth paying a cost. And I think Charlie understood that. And I think even if he knew, and I think a part of him knew that this might be the cost that he would pay for saying what he believed to be true. But he did it anyway, and so will I. I'll try not to be one of those artists that are cowed and cowards that self-censor in a way that they shouldn't, make the world a worse place, because then they embolden those who want to censor those on the right side of things. Got to remember, we're the ones that are right, and they're the ones that are left. So it's my hope that us artists on the right can create the monuments that have been torn down, that we can put up new monuments. That requires that a price be paid. Food's ready? Okay, I'm coming. It's almost ready, okay. Okay, I'll come in. Let me turn things off and come in. If you want to support, I created a Give, Send, Go. One way that I thought I could maybe just try to replace some income for the next couple months as I try to work things out. And so if you have $20 or something you'd be willing to throw my way, if you believe in these types of things. Of course, if you don't, you won't support that. But I do appreciate anybody that helps me as I'm just trying to provide for my family over the Christmas season. And hopefully we don't have to sell the house or anything like that. Though I don't know. The future is unsure right now. Kind of grown attached to this house, this barn studio that I've been working so hard on. So hopefully I can figure out a way to make it work. Hope that you can stay creative and stay productive. Oh, if you want to learn sculpting, there's links to the courses. All right. Well, we'll take it from here, Charlie. We'll take it from here as best we can.